I missed my flight the day my mother disappeared. I remember standing there, in the middle of the airport, feeling completely hollow inside. Everything moved around me, people rushing, rolling suitcases rattling, announcements echoing, but I felt frozen, like the world was moving on without me. And then I saw them. A woman sitting on the cold floor, holding a baby wrapped in a threadbare blanket. Both of them were shivering. The baby's tiny hands were balled into fists, his chest rising and falling in uneven little gasps. The woman's coat was too big, worn, sleeves dangling past her hands. She looked exhausted. I don't know why, but I couldn't just walk past. Are you okay?" I asked, my voice softer than I expected. She flinched, startled, but nodded, almost like she was playing a part she had memorized. "We're fine," she said. But I could see it in her eyes, she wasn't fine at all. I asked her if she had somewhere to go. Her gaze fell. "Not right now," she murmured. "But we'll manage." The lie shattered me a little inside. I didn't know what came over me, but before I could stop myself, I said it, "I have a house, a lake house. It's empty. You can stay there. Just until you figure things out." Her eyes widened. You don't know me." "No," I said. "But I know you need this." I held out the keys, cold metal pressing against my palm. "Take them." She hesitated, and then slowly, carefully, took them. "Thank you," she whispered. "My name is Lila, and this is Eli." "I'm Clara," I said. And then I did the only thing I could, I stepped back and let her be. My assistant, Gavin, arrived to take them to Silver Pine Lake House. I rattled off instructions, groceries, baby supplies, linens, anything they might need. Lila held onto Eli and the keys like they were the only things keeping her alive. And in that moment, I realized something. I was powerless over my own life, but I could still give someone else a lifeline. I tried to keep walking to my gate. Boarding announcements echoed around me. People brushed past, all purposeful, all certain. And I just walked slowly, my chest tight, the weight of everything pressing down. I'd left a stranger with my home, and somehow that felt terrifying and right all at once. On the plane, Portsmouth shrank beneath me, and I pressed my forehead to the window, trying to push away the knot in my chest. My phone buzzed once, a message from Simon Hale, the private investigator, still no updates. "I'm continuing the search." I closed my eyes. I didn't know if my mother was still out there, or if I'd already failed her. But somewhere, out there, on a quiet road near Silver Pine Lake, something was starting to move. Fate was folding back on itself, and whether I realized it or not, my life, and theirs, was about to change forever. I didn't get much sleep that night on the plane, though I tried. My thoughts kept spiraling back to her, Agnes, my mother. Where was she? Why had she left? I'd argued with her the night before, words I couldn't take back still sharp in my chest. By the time I drove into the driveway of our family home, it was nearly midnight. The house looked exactly as it always had, large, immaculate, painfully quiet. I sat in the car a moment longer than necessary, just breathing, trying to steel myself for whatever I would find inside. And there she was. Agnes. Sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea she hadn't touched. The television murmured quietly in the background, a late-night health program flickering across the screen. She didn't turn when I walked in. "Almost midnight," she said calmly, "back late again." I kicked off my heels, tired already of the conversations I always had with her. "I had meetings," I said, my voice tight. "You always have meetings." She finally looked at me, sharp and still upright at 79, carrying the quiet authority that had always made me feel both safe and trapped. And your body doesn't run itself, she said. You push too hard. I poured myself a glass of wine, shaking slightly. I could feel the anger and exhaustion coiling together inside me. Please don't start, I muttered. I'm not starting, she replied. And I knew immediately that word was the match. My voice sharpened, more than I intended. You've been worried about me for 30 years. Every choice I make is wrong in your eyes. Her lips pressed into a thin line. I only ever wanted the best for you. I laughed bitterly. The best? I whispered. That's what you said when you made me leave Thomas. He loved me, Mother. And you said he wasn't ambitious enough, not worthy of the Bennett name. Her shoulders stiffened. That was decades ago. And then there was another man, I continued, voice rising. Too ambitious, dangerous, a threat to the company. And when Father got sick, you left me to everything. Do you know what it was like? To be 25 and have my dying father beg me not to let everything he built fall apart. She said nothing. I pressed on quietly, the words spilling out in a flood. I stayed. I worked. I sacrificed. I did exactly what you and Father wanted. And now I have nothing. No husband, no children, just spreadsheets and silence. She stood abruptly. Don't speak to me like that. Why not? I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Because you're my mother? Does that give you the right to live my life for me? Her voice trembled. You chose this. No, I said. You forced me, with guilt, with duty, with fear. And now I'm empty because of it. The room fell silent. Heavy, suffocating. She turned away, shoulders rigid. You missed your chance, she said finally. I froze, chest tightening. No, I said quietly. I didn't miss it. You took it. I walked upstairs without another word, my wine untouched. I didn't hear her leave the kitchen. I didn't know that the words she had thrown at me, the ones I couldn't take back, would be the last we would speak as mother and daughter. The next morning, I woke to a silence so thick it pressed against my ears. Agnes was gone. My throat tightened as I called out for her, but only the emptiness answered. Her bed was made perfectly, pillows fluffed, lights off. Her phone lay on the nightstand, still charging. Her purse was gone. Panic rose like fire. She wouldn't just leave. Not without telling me. I checked the kitchen, the garage, only my car was there. My mother had vanished. I called the police, tried friends, neighbors, hospitals, every place she might have been. Nothing. I filed a missing person report. 79 years old, a heart condition. No one had seen her. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I couldn't control this. Not her, not anything. My mother, the woman who had always been my anchor in my fear, had disappeared, and the last thing I had left her with was anger. I sat on the couch that night, blanket draped over my shoulders, phone in hand, watching the clock crawl toward midnight. I had no leads, no answers, only the knowledge that I was completely, utterly powerless. By mid-morning, I had made my way to the police station again, filing forms, repeating details, feeling like I was speaking through fog. They were polite but distant. Sometimes older folks leave to cool off, one officer said. She may come back. I wanted to scream. My mother didn't just cool off. She vanished. I needed someone who could find her, someone who could go further than I could. That's when I called Simon Hale. Former homicide detective, now private investigator specializing in missing persons. Calm, meticulous, sharp, but patient. He listened while I poured out everything, the argument, the empty house, the fear clawing at me every night. I understand, he said finally, eyes steady. She left last night, no car, no money, no phone. I'll start broad, hospitals, shelters, transit footage, friends and acquaintances. I wanted to argue, wanted to tell him it wouldn't matter. I could feel it in my bones, she wasn't just missing, she was lost in a world that had forgotten her. But I didn't argue. I let him work. That afternoon, I had to leave for Silver Pine Lake. Portsmouth never stopped moving, and I had responsibilities, a company, employees, deals, but they blurred into nothing. I could barely breathe thinking about her out there somewhere. And then I saw them. Near the entrance of the terminal, a woman sitting on the cold floor, holding a baby wrapped in a thin blanket. My chest stopped. I froze. Something inside me tightened painfully. I should have kept walking. I didn't. She looked exhausted. Her coat too large, sleeves dangling. The baby's fingers curled against her chest, his breaths uneven. She looked lost. And I knew, suddenly, with every fiber of me, that she was just like my mother might be right now, alone, scared, invisible to the rushing world. I swallowed hard. Excuse me, do you have somewhere to go? She hesitated. Not right now. But we'll manage. I reached into my purse. I have a house, I said, voice soft. A lake house. It's empty. You and your baby can stay there. Just until you find something else. Her eyes widened, disbelief clear. I can't accept that, she whispered. Take the keys, I said, pressing them into her hand. You need it more than I need an empty house right now. She clutched them as if I had given her life itself. Thank you, she said. I'm Lila, and this is Eli. I'm Clara, I said. My chest ached at how fragile she looked, at how much this small act mattered. I called my driver, Marcus, who was waiting nearby. Take them to Silver Pine Lake House, I said, rattling off instructions for groceries, clothes, everything they might need. Make sure they're safe and comfortable. She nodded, holding the baby close, clutching the keys. And as I turned to leave, I realized I was leaving a part of myself behind. A piece of hope. A lifeline. Somewhere in this quiet place, maybe my mother could be found too. Boarding my flight, my heart ached with a mix of fear, guilt, and relief. I had given a stranger my home, and in doing so, maybe I had created a place where safety, love, and care could grow. And yet, a part of me whispered, what if this stranger holds more than just a baby in her arms? I didn't know it then, but in the weeks to come, that small act of trust would unfold into something I could never have imagined, a thread weaving my mother back into my life, one careful step at a time. And somewhere, at Silver Pine Lake, Lila would discover that the house she now called home held far more than comfort. It held family waiting in shadows, memories that refused to stay lost, and the chance to rewrite all the things we thought were over. When I finally arrived at Silver Pine Lake, the drive felt endless. The city faded behind me, replaced by quiet roads, tall pines, and the glint of the lake under the late afternoon sun. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I had no idea what I would find, but I had to see it for myself. The house came into view, solid, welcoming, a place I had once dreamed of visiting without fear. And there they were. Lila and Eli. The baby toddled along the gravel path, laughter spilling into the crisp air, completely oblivious to the weight pressing on me. And then I saw her. Agnes. My mother. Standing near the edge of the garden, silver hair catching the sunlight, her posture upright yet tentative, as if she weren't quite sure where she belonged. She looked around as if the world itself might vanish beneath her feet. I stepped out of the car, every instinct urging me forward, but my legs felt heavy. "Mom," I whispered, voice trembling. She turned. Her eyes were sharp, scanning, polite. And then, the words that shattered my heart, "I'm sorry." "Do I know you?" My knees nearly gave way. The woman I had loved my entire life, my mother, did not remember me. Every conversation we had ever had, every shared memory, gone, or locked behind a wall I couldn't see. I swallowed, forcing my voice steady. "It's me. Clara." She tilted her head, confusion knitting her brow. "Clara. I'm sorry. I don't think we've met." Lila stepped forward quickly, placing a steady hand on my arm. "It's okay," she said softly. "She doesn't remember, not yet." I nodded, heart-shattering and swelling all at once. I couldn't force this. I couldn't demand my place in her memory. All I could do was be here, present, patient. We walked slowly into the house. Agnes moved cautiously, every step deliberate, as if muscle memory guided her. She touched the countertop, glanced at the chairs, smiled faintly at Eli, who reached for her hair and giggled. "She remembers the lake," Lila whispered to me. "She remembers small things, the comfort of being here, but the rest, it's gone." I knelt beside my mother, hand brushing hers. "You're safe," I said gently. "You don't have to remember everything at once." Her eyes filled with tears, fragile but real. I feel like I lost something important," she murmured. "Yes," I whispered back. "You lost yourself for a while. But you're here now. That's what matters." The days passed quietly. I stayed, letting her set the pace, letting her explore the house, touch objects, hear songs, remember little things at a time. She remembered the lake, the garden, the smell of summer air, the feel of Eli's soft hand in hers, but she didn't remember me. And yet, slowly, fragments began to return. A word here, a smile there, a hesitation before recognition. Every moment felt precious, every small connection a victory. I watched her laugh as Eli learned to clap, saw her hum old melodies while folding laundry, and felt a fragile hope growing inside me. She was alive. She was here. And perhaps, in time, she would remember everything, or at least enough to hold on to the life she had lost. That night, I stood alone on the porch, watching the lake ripple under the moonlight. The reflection shimmered, distorted but beautiful, like memory itself. Lila joined me quietly, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders. "She's safe," she said softly. "Yes," I breathed. "And that's enough, for now." I didn't know how long it would take, or what would return, or if my mother would ever fully remember me. But I knew one thing with absolute clarity: I would be here, every step of the way, patient, present, and unwavering. Some things couldn't be rushed. Some things couldn't be controlled. And yet, in the quiet of Silver Pine Lake, I felt hope beginning to bloom again. Morning came softly at Silver Pine Lake, sunlight spilling through the windows, touching everything with warmth. I watched Agnes at the kitchen table, carefully arranging plates, humming a tune I hadn't heard in years. Every motion was deliberate, calm, like she was reclaiming a life that had been paused for too long. I sat at the doorway, watching, not wanting to disturb the fragile rhythm we had found. Eli clattered his spoon against the tray, laughing at nothing and everything, and Agnes scolded playfully, "Careful, you'll wake the fish." It was a simple scene, but it was miraculous. My mother, alive, present, and, slowly, remembering. I had waited for this for months, and yet, the relief was tempered by fear. What if it all slipped away again? Lila entered quietly, her face pale, eyes sharp. Clara. Richard found my old account. He's been asking questions. He knows where we are. My jaw tightened. Lila's husband, dangerous and obsessive, had threatened the fragile peace we had built. I felt the weight of responsibility settle over me like a second skin. Then he won't threaten you anymore, I said, voice steady. We'll handle it. You, Eli, Agnes, you're safe now. That evening, the knock came. Not urgent, not loud, just deliberate. My heart thumped as I approached the door. Through the glass, I saw him, Richard. His smile was practiced, confident, wrong. I just want to talk to my wife, he said smoothly. She's not your wife anymore, I replied calmly. And you're trespassing. He laughed softly. You think money scares me? No, I said, stepping forward. But consequences might. Behind me, Agnes appeared, taller, sharper than she had in years, her eyes clear, unwavering. You don't belong here, she said firmly. Leave. Richard's confidence faltered, just for a second. He glanced between us, measuring, calculating. I lifted my phone. The restraining order was already filed. Security cameras were recording. This conversation ends now, I said. Richard scowled, taking a step back, the weight of uncertainty finally cracking his smirk. He muttered, "This isn't over," before turning, retreating down the path, defeated, for now. Inside, Lila collapsed into a chair, trembling. Agnes immediately wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "You're safe," she said quietly, her voice carrying authority, care, and love all at once. Watching them, I felt a strange, fierce pride and relief. I realized that safety, trust, and love weren't built in grand gestures, they were built in presence, patience, and courage. The weeks that followed were gentle but deliberate. Agnes regained pieces of memory, flashes of recognition that warmed her face and lit her eyes. Sometimes she remembered me, sometimes she didn't. But we no longer rushed her. We let each day unfold naturally. I stayed at Silver Pine Lake longer than I had planned. I learned to cook, poorly but with laughter. I listened more than I spoke. I watched as Eli grew, confident and curious, calling me Aunt Clara before he could even finish his full sentences. One evening, months after the move, I returned home from the lake, weary but content. Agnes was waiting on the porch, smiling. "Clara," she said clearly, without hesitation. "My daughter." I dropped my bag and ran to her. We embraced, crying, laughing, holding on as if the world might take it all away again. In that moment, nothing else existed, the office, the deals, the city, the fear, nothing. Life didn't become perfect overnight. Some memories remained lost. Some names slipped away. But love, presence, and choice endured. We had rebuilt what had been broken, piece by piece. That night, tucking Agnes into bed, she looked up at me with clarity and warmth. "You're a good daughter," she said simply. I turned off the light, tears blurring my vision. For years, I had believed success was built by sacrifice, by relentless control. I was wrong. It was built by presence, by small acts of courage, and by choosing people even when it was inconvenient, illogical, or frightening. Some stories only reveal their meaning if you live them, if you let love guide your choices. And somewhere out there, I realized, a single act of kindness, like handing a stranger the keys to a house, can quietly fold the world back together, changing lives in ways no one could predict. And this time, I would never let go.